Good morning, here is Kramer's Corner with the daily technical update. It is the 5th of September. It was a fairly quiet day yesterday since the US market was closed due to Labor Day, but we are back in business today, and let's start with this is the S&P 500 mini future. And it is trading a little bit lower this morning. The RSI was rejected at 60, so we are still in bearish sentiment. And if we are looking at the US 500 CFD, we can see how it was rejected at 45.40 and trading lower now here, also rejected at the 60, and that's very much in line with also the CAC index here, S&P 500, also rejected at the 45.27 resistance. Actually, it did touch that little there, 45.40. The mini Nasdaq future, 15,610, also rejected at 60, so expect some bearish moves the coming days on the US markets. Here we also have the US NAS CFD also being rejected here at 15,525, also negative on the RSI being rejected there. In Asia, we have Seng that closed above Monday, above the 18,562, and it could have moved higher to around 19,000, possibly testing the upper rising trend line. But sellers took back control this morning and sent it back below 18,562. RSI also still negative, so that was probably just a little bit of a false break, so to speak, and it didn't close this gap here from a few weeks ago, and it didn't even touch the 55 moving average, so that's quite negative for Hang Seng. That is likely to trade lower over the next few days and possibly weeks. In Europe, quite weak this morning. DAX rejected a couple of days ago, just above the 16,000, trading lower today, and now we also have the 55 crossing below the 100 moving average, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a retest of 15,482 support area and the 200 moving average here in a few days. AX 25. It did retrace 38.2, but closed yesterday below 750. And if you read my technical update published yesterday around lunchtime, you will also see I mentioned it should close above. Otherwise, we will see the bear trend to resume, and it did close below. So bear trend is resuming, and I think we will see a retest of the 730 support level here in a few days. More or less the same picture on the Belgian market. Trading a little bit lower around the 55 moving average. We are in a bearish trend and could potentially move lower here the next couple of days. CAC40, that has been a little bit against the trend lately, but after the sell-off yesterday, that pushed it back below the 100 and the 55 moving average and below the cloud. Then it didn't look too good, and it was also rejected at a 60 threshold on the RSI. This morning below, gapping lower and below the falling trend line here, so maybe that was a bit of a false break there, really, and I think we will see CAC40 to move down to around 7,100 here over the coming days. On the FX side, as usual, euro dollar, we start there. It took out the low here from last week at 107.65, and it seems to be on course for 106.90, possibly 106.35. I think we will take out the 106.90 level, and we will see your dollar also test this lower falling trend line here. It's not really strong; it's just a guideline, basically. So and RSI back below 40, so we are in negative, back in negative sentiment there. And let's remove this one. The Dollar index moving higher, taking out the peak here about a week ago, and there's not really much resistance until around the 105.80 level. You can see we talked about it some time ago, how the dollar index actually closed above the lower rising trend line. So we are on the move. What is next of interest is, will the RSI on weekly close above 60 or not? I believe it will. I think we will see higher levels on the dollar index. On cable, also taking out the lows here from last week, so further confirming the downtrend we have been trading in here for quite a few weeks now, after being rejected at the upper rising trend line. It seems set for a test of the 200 moving average and 124, possibly dipping down to 123 area here over the next couple of weeks. Looks quite similar on the RSI to the euro dollar RSI, below 40, and it looks fairly heavy. Dollar yen taking out strong resistance at 146.55 if it can close above, and it seems like there's some really good momentum going on there. We have RSI breaking above its upper falling trend line, so if that is also the picture at the end of the day, well, then there is much more in store for dollar yen. As you can see, it's also breaking back above the 786 retracement and at 146.60. Well, then there's no resistance until the peak here at 151.90 level. To completely change and demolish this bullish picture, it needs to close below the 144.40 level here. That will demolish the bullish picture on dollar yen. Euro yen still range bound. I think we can take this away a little bit so we can get a better look at what's going on. Really still range bound here between 156.85 and 159.75 level, and I think that will be the picture here the next couple of days, but look out for these levels there really. On the Aussie yen, still trading in this kind of, I would say, triangle-like pattern, but what is interesting, as mentioned previously, is that the 55 moving average seems like it's kind of a ceiling here for Aussie yen, and we are very close to test the lower rising trend line here, and I think we will see a break of it, so that the key support at 92.80 here will be in play, and that could be very much taken out and possibly dipping down to around 92, where we also have the 200 moving average coming in. So that's what I would look out for. To completely change that picture, it needs to take out 95, and it doesn't really seem like it will be doing that at the moment. Sterling yen also range bound, 183.35, 186.65 are the levels to look out for. And we will have a look at Aussie dollar today, because it's breaking below. Seems like it's really being hit now with heavy selling back below 64, and as you can see here on the weekly chart, there's not really much support until around 61.85, and if it doesn't close back above 64, well, then it has resumed downtrend. It certainly does look like it has resumed downtrend. We are in below 40 on the RSI threshold there, so that's quite key. All right, moving on to gold, really not much going on. It's a little bit of setback, as we talked about yesterday, after being rejected at around this 1950 level. I think we'll see a setback to around 1915 level. It's not unlikely, but not really that interesting. So again, silver seems to be front running a little bit, being a little bit weak here the past few days, close to it's actually below the 55 moving average. It is below the cloud, and I think we'll very quickly just do little Fibonacci retracement there and see where we are. We are very close. I think we will test the 61.8 retracement at 23.28 here shortly, but the 200 moving average will add some support to the picture, and we are still positive on the RSI until we break below 40. On the other commodities, we have copper that is being hit again after it failed to close above the 200 moving average, and it seems like we're stuck. We could be stuck again here, pivoting around the 382, and that's the 382 that I've been looking at for quite some time. That is really pivoting, and what is interesting is also that RSI didn't manage to close above 60 level, so maybe we should have a little bit of sell-off down to around 370 again. We talked about that yesterday. On the energy side, some interesting development today, possibly. Maybe we'll have a little bit of a doji evening top and reversal pattern here, so we maybe should have a bit of correction on crude oil. Also was interesting that the RSI did manage to close above the previous peak, so there is a potential divergence building up here. So let's do this one that shows the divergence, where you can see the RSI values are declining, where the market is or did make a higher high. So, but let's give it a day or two. Let's give it a day and see tomorrow. Will it actually form this top and reverse pattern? On the weekly, it's still bullish. Same picture on WHI really. But not since it was closed, there was no trading. There was no doji yesterday forming, and finally on the yields. U.S. Treasury yields, 10-year yields, are still moving higher towards the previous peak here at 4.36. Let's see if we can actually make it. I do believe we will see a little bit higher after bouncing strongly. And I think I will just throw in the 2-year at the end here. See how the 2-year U.S. Treasury yields actually bounced from the lower rising trend line and could move higher here next couple of days, maybe back to the 5%. So keep an eye on this candle here. If it does break below the 470, well, then we will see lower levels. But it seems like we are resuming uptrend. All right, that's all for today. Happy trading, and talk to you again tomorrow.